Hello and welcome to my channel. In this one I'm doing a charcoal drawing of a bull. It's going to be a nice little vignette in charcoal. Let's start. So the reference photo will be in the description as usual, and what I liked about it is the contrast between the light side and the shadow side of the bull's body. The paper I'm working on is Fabriano sketching paper. It's about 9 times 12 inches in size, and I'm doing the initial sketch with a pencil, and then I'm going to switch to charcoal. As for the charcoal drawing tools, I'm going to use Master Touch woodless charcoal pencils, and I'm also going to use vine charcoal. Once the sketch is done, I'm going to do a little bit of shading with vine charcoal. There's going to be a little bit of shadow under the bull's body, but I'm not going to bother with the background because I want this to be a vignette. So now I'm shading on top of that with vine charcoal. And vine charcoal doesn't really stick to the surface of the paper, which means that it's going to be easy to blend and erase, so I'm not ruining this. I just want to establish a little bit of value. The reason why I want that value is because I want to create contrast with some of the lighter parts of the body. I'm blending this with a piece of paper towel, and I'm using a gentle circular motion. As you can see, I'm putting down a very light amount of value, so it's barely there, but it will be useful to create contrast with the horns. The horns are the lightest detail here, and I want the background to be darker than the horns, or rather darker than the upper part of the horns. I drew the shape of the horns with pencil eraser, the Kohinoor pencil eraser, and then I did a little bit more blending around them, and I further cleaned up the edge using kneaded eraser. So after that I'm drawing the shadow side of the horns using medium charcoal pencil, and that way I have a lighter shape that stands out against the background. So that's why it was important for me to shade the background lightly. I'm doing the ear with a soft charcoal pencil because it's very dark, and I'm going to be using, when it comes to my charcoal pencils, I'm going to be using the medium charcoal pencil and the soft charcoal pencil. So I have two grades which I normally use. And the medium charcoal pencil is my main drawing tool, and when sharpened properly it can draw some fairly thin lines, not quite as good as graphite pencil, but pretty close actually. The soft charcoal pencil is a little bit softer and crumblier, but it also produces darker values, darker tones. In most of my drawings I use soft charcoal pencil very sparingly for some of the darkest details, but every now and then I will use the soft charcoal pencil a little bit more than usual. This is going to be one of those cases because here we're going to have a large dark surface, large shadow area, and most of it is going to be done with a soft charcoal pencil. There is a large shadow here starting from the horn and between the head and the neck, because the horn itself is creating a shadow, plus the way that the head is twisting to the side is creating a little bit of a shadow. So that's going to be the beginning of that large shadow area. Here around the nose and the mouth I had to be a little bit more careful because there are some smaller shapes here, and the same goes for the eye. And this is where a sharp medium charcoal pencil comes in handy. With a graphite pencil this would have been even easier, but then again with a graphite pencil I would find it a lot more difficult to produce such dark tones and to build up darker values so easily and so quickly. Notice that the lower part of the mouth area and the neck is already connected into a single shadow shape. I'm going to continue that shadow shape as I move on to the chest and the belly area. Here I'm adding some more details and textures to the head, adding some small wrinkles and details to the fur, because the head does appear a little bit more detailed and a bit more textured than the rest of the body, which appears mostly kind of smooth and shiny because of the short shiny hair or fur. I did a little bit of additional refining using blending and erasing tools, a Tutillian and a kneaded eraser, and now I'm moving on to the body. What I always want to have is a clean edge between the main subject and the background, and when I find it difficult to create that clean edge with a soft charcoal pencil, I will just go around the edges with a medium charcoal pencil. Here I'm doing some work with a soft charcoal pencil, so there's going to be that large shadow area here. Most of the chest will be in that shadow, and the belly area at the bottom will also be in the shadow. But it's not like a simple smooth shape, it's like a bunch of smaller shapes merging into one, because we see a lot of these folds and wrinkles around the shoulder area, around the waist area where the body is bending and twisting. But as you can see, I'm blending this and I'm connecting this into a single shape. At the top, where the body needs to be lighter, I used some vine charcoal, and then I'm going to blend the two together. So what I'm going to do is push the charcoal from the darker area onto the lighter area and back. So I'm going to go back and forth. The darker area is still going to remain much darker, and the lighter area is going to remain lighter because it was covered with vine charcoal. But the point is that I want to create a smoother transition there, a smoother transition from the shadow area at the bottom onto the lighter area at the top. The light source is coming from above, the light is coming from above, which means that the upper part of the body is exposed to the light. That's why it's lighter. But because it's of a round or cylindrical shape, we're not going to have a clean edge or a clear cut contrast between the shadow side of the body and the light side of the body. Rather than that, it's going to gradually become lighter as you go up towards the lighter side of the body. And of course, to make things more complicated or maybe more interesting, we have a lot more of those wrinkles around the neck and the shoulder area, as you can see. First I drew them as lines with a charcoal pencil, and then I softened them with a brush, and as a final touch I'm pulling some lighter details in between those darker shapes to make those wrinkles, to make those folds in the skin and the muscles more three-dimensional, to make them stand out. Because whatever is lighter, whatever is bulging out is going to be more exposed to the light source, so it needs to be lighter. And by manipulating the amount of value, we can create an illusion with the viewer that something is protruding, that something is three-dimensional, if you will. So you need that range of value in order to make your subject look more realistic and to make it pop out of the paper, as it were. As you can see, I'm switching back and forth between two different grades of pencils. Here, where I have these smaller details around the legs, even though these are supposed to be darker, I have to work with a medium charcoal pencil rather than a soft charcoal pencil, because I simply need more precision. And I can't really draw such fine lines with a soft charcoal pencil. So I just do as much of the work with a soft charcoal pencil as I can until I have to refine some of the edges and the smaller details where I need more precision and where I need a clean edge. Doing the rest of the front legs here and the hooves are a little bit lighter, but because they too are down there in the shadow, I'm going to have to apply a little bit of value on top of them so that they don't appear too light, but they still have to be lighter than the rest of the legs, because the legs and the rest of the body is covered with really dark fur, like black fur. And another useful tool that you can see me using every now and then is a tortillon. I use a tortillon to blend in those smaller areas and to push the charcoal onto those smaller areas where maybe a brush wouldn't be suitable. So there's going to be a little bit of shadow here. I like to add shadows to drawings like this so that it wouldn't look like the animal is hanging in midair. I want to give it a little bit of context, a little bit of environment, even when I don't feel like drawing the background. So my background is just some light shading I did initially with a piece of vine charcoal, and here I did the shadow under the bull's body also with a piece of vine charcoal. And now I'm just going to blend it a little bit with a brush, smudge it a little bit side to side. And I'm also going to add a little bit of detail to it once it's blended, but nothing fancy. I'm going to add a few suggestions of some blades of grass in front of that shadow area with an eraser and then with a tortillon. And moving on to the back side and the tail area. So I drew the tail again with a medium charcoal pencil. I made it a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter than it is in the reference photo. And now I'm drawing the shape of those hind legs. There's going to be a little bit of shadow here in between them. And I did much of that shadow area again with a soft charcoal pencil, and then switched to a medium charcoal pencil once I had to draw some straight, clean lines. If you look at the overall shape and the edges around the animal, you will see that some of those edges are not quite as clean as they might be if I were working in graphite, but they are pretty good considering the fact that it's charcoal. Here on this back side and the thigh area, first I applied soft charcoal to establish that really dark area, and then I applied vine charcoal at the top, and then I made the transition between the two, and finally added some lighter touches with an eraser to make some of those bulging muscles stand out. And just adding a few more wrinkles here and there and cleaning up some of the edges around the legs. You will notice that much of this video is in time-lapse. There are some slower parts, but much of it is in time-lapse, which some people don't like, but if you want to see longer videos, full-length videos, you should check out my Patreon. That's where you can see that type of content. Anyway, just drawing a little bit more shadow and a little bit more grass here under the bull's body. Adding a few more blades of grass here and there before I wrap things up. And I also did a little bit of cleaning up. I'm going to put my signature here on the right side to balance things out a little bit, and a little bit more cleaning up with a kneaded eraser. Anyway, this is the finished drawing. I hope you like the way it turned out. Check out my other videos, and once again, if you want to see a lot more content and full-length videos, check out my Patreon. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.